Portland's an interesting city because there's the greater Portland and then downtown Portland. And downtown Portland is really small. It's maybe 2 square miles, but it has a very much big city feel. So it's like having, if that makes sense, it's like having a small piece of like San Francisco or Boston just in this small piece of area. And then it has very distinct geographical boundaries where it just kind of cuts off and it suddenly becomes a suburb, and then this is downtown. So it's really interesting as far as that goes. The streets, a lot of one-way streets, kind of confusing. That's kind of all of New England. I think that's just developed by the fact that, you know, there weren't cars and things like that. Crime, I've heard there's a lot of crime. I mean, I didn't see that much. There was one part of Portland in particular that I didn't serve around, but was supposedly pretty bad. But I mean, honestly, I didn't see that much of it. There is a famous things there. There is a place called the Portland Headlight. It is the most photographed lighthouse in the world, so that's a pretty big attraction in Portland. It's actually in a town called Cape Elizabeth, just about 15 minutes away. Huge seafood industry, obviously. Being on the coast, lots of people that worked for seafood there. I believe that a lot of the immigration, at least with Africans, began in the 80s and 90s. Could be wrong. So that's been a recent development. And there was a lot of conflicts that came within those communities themselves that time. There's also a large Spanish population there. And large, well, I guess semi-large Asian populations. But cost of living, I think like a cheap apartment there was about $800 a month. That was about what we paid for. Definitely more expensive than living in Utah. I mean, obviously the winters are really cold. Apparently they had one of the most bitter winters while I was there. Made especially bitter by the fact that this was an area where we were on foot. The summers were nice. They say there's a saying in New England that if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes. So when it's not just really cold, it can be pretty fickle. In the summers it can get pretty hot and humid. It's got a lot of food. I think it's like next to San Francisco, it has the highest restaurant per square, whatever, capita. I don't know what you'd call that, but it's got a lot of restaurants. So plenty of food that you can get. Well, I guess also it has one of the most acclaimed or renowned, that's the word I'm looking for, medical centers as well. So that's kind of a neat fact. It's got a really well-respected medical center.